any of them. You know what I mean? It's like I like critics. They talk nice about me, but even on some of the good reviews that I get, I can tell that they're not really understanding what happened.
Right, right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your
Not
relation.
always, but a hell of a lot of the time.
Let's talk a little bit more about your relationship with David Rubinson. Now, I want to preface this by saying that way back in like 1979 or 1980, when I was getting into playing drums, I read an interview with you in Modern Drummer magazine, and that was the first time I heard the story about Actual Proof, which was originally called "The Spook Who Sat by the Door," right?
Indeed, it was
All right,
from a movie.
and then from Death Wish, the Charles Bronson movie.
Indeed.
Right.
Oh no, not from Death
No, no.
Wish. Excuse me, from a movie called The Spook Who Sat by the
Oh,
Door.
okay, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, all right. But you did do the music to Death Wish also, right?
Well, some of it. Harvey did some of it, and I
Yeah.
did some
Okay,
of it. We
cool.
both shared the drum responsibilities on that one.
But the story behind Actual Proof, it was the first time I'd ever seen the words Nam Myoho Renge Kyo in print, and I was immediately fascinated with it. And the thing I like about well, we'll talk about this a little bit, but tell us the story about the spook who sat by the door becoming Actual Proof.
Well, we went in to record it. We've been playing it for about a month or maybe more on the road, and we played it pretty much like how you hear it on Thrust or Flood.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens there is David Rubinson. Now, I don't mean to make him a bad guy. I don't dislike this guy. He's just, I don't even know the guy really anymore, but he's just, he's kind of a typical producer, manager, all-in-one guy. He's definitely a talented businessman.
He did some great albums, too. I mean, he did Santana Moonflower, Santana Amigos, Herbie Hancock Headhunters. I mean, he did some great albums.
Well, yeah, he does. It's not like he doesn't know anything. He knows something, that's for sure. But dealing with jazz artists, it was a little weird for him and a little weird for us. He didn't understand us, I would say, and that's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess you could say maybe we didn't understand him, and it felt like that also.
Right.
So I guess it depends. If you're him, then then it's us who didn't understand. But the thing is he knew just enough about eighth grade drums to make him dangerous. So whenever we do a track, he would have me play my thing, kind of coupled with his thing, and his thing was like student level drum understanding at best. Like really simple beats that in the eighth, and I'd already had quite a history of professional drumming, so it was insulting, really. I mean, the beats he'd tell you to play were pretty dumb.
Okay.
And I can understand that's what the kind of records he'd been making. Some of them that you mentioned, that's how the drummers played. They weren't sophisticated drummers. It's not that they weren't good, but they just played regular 2 and 4 and
Right.
Simple fills, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my style.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I'm paid very well, then it's my style. But because it's certainly easy to do for me. Anyway, so the thing is he was insisting. Most of the tracks, Palm, Grease, Spankily, this and that, were pretty much more pedestrian tracks. There wasn't a lot of jazz improv. So this was time for me to show what I could do, and the rest of the album was quite straight. Actual Proof was the best thing those guys ever did when I was with them for my money. So I started to explode and play my stuff on Actual Proof in my rhythms and everything, and he stopped the track right away. And he was like, nobody's going to know where 1 is. That's crazy. It can't be done. Oh, my God, I can't tell what's going on. He was having a hissy fit, which he tended to do from time to time. So anyway, I said, okay, so I snuck out of the room because I could see that Hancock wasn't going to stand up to him. Not that he couldn't or wouldn't, but I could see he wasn't going to in this instance.
Right.
And the guy's his manager. He can't get too deep, So anyway,
Right.
I snuck away and pretended to either go to the bathroom or put some money in the meter. And I chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I chanted for 20 minutes. And my prayer was that Herbie had taught me to chant, and he said if you chant, you can have any of your desires fulfilled through inner reformation. So I snuck away and I chanted and here is my prayer, because I was a young guy. I wanted to be immortalized in jazz history like Elvin Jones and Tony Williams and all my heroes. I didn't want to be like Joe Smith, and the drummer at the bar down the street. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yep.
And so, like, that was what I chanted for. And I knew I had only this one track to do it because the rest of the tracks, like I say, were fairly pedestrian. They were pretty straightforward, and I figured any drummer could have been on those tracks, but this one was mine. So I went back in, and instead of getting mad at the guy because he was throwing this little hissy fit there, instead of getting angry back at him, I learned to negotiate. I used to just listen to Coltrane all day. I never thought you had to negotiate to play great in the studio. I assumed that was what everybody wanted to do, was to play great. So I didn't know about producers and what have you, and this I found out. This is why I say they don't hear the same way we do, because he didn't understand musically where we were trying to get to. And we'd already been there night after night on the road, so it wasn't anything new to us, but it was to him, which is not his fault. So instead of getting mad back and saying, and meeting fire with fire, because he was upset about this awful rhythm I was playing, I said, listen, David, this isn't my record date, this is Herbie's date, but we have a very sophisticated way of playing this. Why don't you give us one take to make it in, and if we don't make it in that one take, we'll do it your way. And Hancock didn't say a word, he just sat there. And he said angrily towards me, okay. But in his mind, he knew this was a very complicated piece, and he knew we weren't going to be able to pull it off. But I had chanted about this. Boom, we made it in one take, and when we went in and listened to it, everybody was high-fiving each other. Hancock gave me a kiss on the cheek, and David Rubin said, thank you for arguing with me. This is going to make you famous. This is an incredible track. And I was like, huh? I was stunned. And when the record came out, it became a milestone, and people, it's been said that it was the father of linear drumming, and one of the tracks that changed drumming to
Absolutely, it is.
Day.
Yeah.
That's what's been said about it. I'm not the one that's saying it, but however, that's what happened. So Hancock was right. I chanted Nam Myoho and Ren Geikyo, and my prayer was answered. But the inner reformation was, my mother's Italian, and I was raised Italian, so I have the Italian temperament. So instead of, when he started to raise his voice, and instead of me going off on him, which was not beneath me to do that, I've been known to do that. I'm not the baddest actor in town, but I'm also not the kind of guy that you can really push around too easily. And so, I'm a man at a certain point, like any of us. I'm going to break, and I didn't break on him. What I did was I negotiated. Now, I was quite young, 25 or so. I'd never negotiated anything in my life. I just either spoke up to try to get what I want, and if somebody berated me, I'd feel bad about myself, or I would challenge them to a debate, or I would get as angry as I would get angry. This time I changed something about myself. I was able to calmly talk to the guy, and he reasoned with me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, you got one track to make it, although it wasn't reasoning. He figured we couldn't do it, so he thought he won.
Yeah.
But in the end result, both of us won. So that was the benefit. And I don't mean to make it sound like I'm making him the fall guy, but this is exactly the way it laid. But he was man enough when he heard what happened. He said, you were right, Mike, and I was wrong. And I was like, wow.
And so this was. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the benefit.
And then it was renamed Actual Proof because
Herbie was so impressed that he said, you got actual proof. And the promise of the Buddhism was it's based on actual proof. There's documentary, theoretical proof, but the most important is actual. Like, I chanted and this happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
now you're still involved in chanting. I know. And so is Herbie and Wayne Shorter and Buster Williams, and they have been for years and years. Now, the thing that I like about that is that everybody had a guru back in the 1970s, John McLaughlin and Carlos Santana and Michael Shreve and so on like that, but they don't anymore. But you guys are still at this, so that's even more proof that it works.